Hello and welcome to Bucks Hill. My O-gauge layout is based on Pontrilas, which is located in the Welsh Marches between Hereford and Abergavenny. The station and surroundings are a close rendition of the original. The corners, however, are fictitious, modeller's license. Overall, construction took almost 20 years, and I realised quite quickly that others had to be involved, otherwise it would never be finished. I'm very grateful that all buildings, signals and backscene are from the efforts of experts. Originally, the rolling stock reflected the joint nature of the line, which was Great Western Railway, with the LMS having running rights. However, after leaving the exhibition circuit, things have become a little less prescriptive, as you will see. Many of you may have enjoyed the ever-popular holiday haunts, the layout that appeared in the early 1990s. It featured a continuous run, full-length trains run at scale speeds along the Dawlish sea wall. This watching the trains go by heavily influenced the concept of Bucks Hill. However, in addition to the main line running, we wanted a station with a yard plus a branch line. Research by Mike Morris identified Pontrilas, with a rather splendid station building and yard, plus the branch line to Hay-on-Wye, known as the Golden Valley Line. As this is both my first and likely only layout, construction initially followed conventional techniques, and I sought guidance from Barry Norman's excellent book and used his 4-inch beam and block base for all the board edges. The corners posed different challenges. Some boards are indeed 4 feet square and over 2 feet thick, so construction had to be light but rigid. A pet hate is gaps between boards. Clamping the corner boards together during the process of filling with polystyrene worked a treat in avoiding distortion. For some years, space and time constraints meant only the station area could be accommodated and worked on. The 4-inch beam can be seen at the base of the tall side. Individual boards are then all clamped together. Track bed level established and base being added. Note the super elevation using spruce strip plane to angle and height. Landscape contours cut. Aluminium strip helped with eyeballing the flow of the land. You can see the aluminium strip here resting on top of the contour profiles. Many layers of 2-inch polystyrene were added using Copydex as a contact adhesive, lots of it. Hours of fun carving to shape, mainly with a surf form. Domestic harmony is enhanced, by the way, by leaving the snowstorm in the workshop. Track and tunnel weathering was completed before the hills get in the way. Making parts like tunnel mouths removable made both carving the clay to shape and finishing the landscape carving a lot easier. A thin layer of tinted plaster was added before all fencing was soldered to post and weathered. Before any scenery was added, yards of painted and weathered Great Western fencing was installed. The posts are a sandwich of spruce and printed circuit board, allowing the phosphor-bronze wire to be soldered on. Bleached carpet underlay was stuck down using PVA, some in pieces, some in tufts, then combed to the correct density and trimmed to length with clippers. Introducing colour took 5 or 6 coats of diluted Humbrol enamel. Density of tone was location related, i.e. the bottom of a hill much darker than the top. Undergrowth added such as brambles and ground cover. Of all aspects of railway modelling, my time spent in the workshop is the most valuable to me. I've collected over the last 20 years a lot of machinery, lathes, milling machines, etc. And hours spent here working on locomotives is the most fruitful. Here I'm making an Aberdare from a Martin Finney kit. You'll note the frames are almost finished with the inside motion underway, and the bodywork is taking shape.
As well as the usual maps and photos, there are some very useful devices to help get the research and details of a back scene sorted out properly. One of these is a free computer program called Generate a Panorama, which puts out the contours of your layout landscape. Here's a screen capture of the map and its simple control panel. As soon as you know your viewpoint and scale height, it'll do the tough bit for you, and that's the basis of the back scene. This is part of Bucks Hill's back scene overlaid onto a Generate a Panorama plot. This is Callow Hill and its trees plotted on by sightlines and map reference. The back scene trees are all constructed from twisted multi-strand copper battery cable, superglued for strength, and dressed with the usual green scene and tremendous summer foliage materials. The foliage materials are mixed very slightly differently for the many trees that went onto this back scene. The other vital source of reference is a map from the chosen period. Prominent features from particular line-side viewpoints become apparent immediately, appearing in the foreground, middle distance or horizon, and even a fairly quick study helps to sort out the usefulness of old photographs at this stage. So, as this aspect of US Harold is visible beyond the meadow on Bucks Hill, I thought it might be an idea to include it below the horizon, framed by existing large trees at either side. The Temple Bar Inn to the right and the tea rooms to the left are as close as possible to their appearance in the 30s. They're done as low-relief facades after mocking up their sizes and positions in card from reference. I did use some considerable license with the church and loosely based it on a similar example at Peter Church, a few stops up the Golden Valley branch line. A good many roads are present on Bucks Hill, mostly surfaced with silver sand, and extended out onto the back scene to be gradually blended into the local countryside. The River Dore is represented with the narrow hedgerow lanes crossing local tributaries on stone bridges. The old stone church of St Mary survives to this day at Kenda Church and appears clearly on the horizon in many photos of Pontrilas at the turn of the last century. Seen here through a gap between some of the larger trees, the view from the station was already partly obscured by natural growth by the mid-30s. We can follow the progress of a local train consisting of a Dean Goods engine and a two-carriage B-set as it travels along the down main line and through the scenic section of the layout. It emerges from the stone tunnel mouth that conceals the line's continuation in the direction of Hereford. The high ground above the tunnel has areas of cleared woodland, and we can see a pheasant shooting party above the scenic break. Further round and above a retaining wall, we can see the old church of St Mary's, and below at railway level, the single-track tunnel of the branch line appears into view. In the foreground, the down goods loop begins, and we can see a train occupying this. John Cook's ramshackle forge stands at the roadside, surrounded by the usual clutter of broken farm implements, buckets and bedsteads. William Prosser's cart is from nearby Kent Church. The forge is fully detailed inside and out. The hearth glows red and all the tools are hung up around the walls. The blacksmith works a bracket at the anvil, and alongside the farrier shoes a sturdy ploughing horse. A climbing rose surrounds the cottage porch. The train passes the goods engine and a row of trees by a short embankment, and we see the signal box come into view. There's an underpass here at Pontrilas, and this is included beneath the signal box itself, which is by Peter Squibb. Looking northwest, we get the first view of the station and yard with its timber-built goods sheds and sidings. As the train stops, there's a view of the yard from the side, and the details and activity can be seen, as well as the background which Callow Hill Wood appears. Plenty of activity at the station building between trains. The station building has bags of character, and the bay platform behind the name board was occupied with an all stations departure to Hay 8 times a day. The figures are mostly omen expertly painted by Peter Brady, a noted painter of military miniatures. Looking over beyond the livestock pens and the yard office, a dense strip of ancient woodland still thrives today. The back scene allowed the positioning of a row of GPO telegraph poles alongside the road. The simple timber footbridge was sited over the tunnel mouth and must have caught some travellers unaware of approaching trains. And following the prototype, the main lines to Abergavenny and Newport enter a short tunnel at the down end of the station. The kitchen, garden and greenhouse is modelled, and a steamroller occupies a corner of the yard.
The kitchen garden is a tour de force. It was done by Malcolm Smith, who works a great deal at Pendon, doing similar work in Formill. He modelled everything from runner beans to potatoes, cabbages, carrots. It really is splendid.
The train now enters the short tunnel and emerges into the daylight again, directly onto a short embankment, broken with a stone occupation underbridge. The beautifully modelled meadow rises behind the curving embankment with a tumble-down barn to the left. Mature trees on either side frame this scene, and from the viewer's vantage point here looking north, the pretty village of US Harold would have been apparent in the middle distance. Another tunnel to the left of this view forms the scenic break at the Abergavenny lines disappear off stage. As Astania Jubilee heads an LMS passenger train through the platforms, we can see some of the many signal and telegraph posts, as well as the small Great Western Railway cabin. A closer look shows the box with an open window and the corrugated iron lamp hut and bicycle. Stania 280 with flats on the down main and a few views of the other signals and posts.
The layout is controlled from a laptop. The software is free from JMRI and controls, as you can see here on the screen, both the fiddle yard at the top and the main scenic section at the bottom. The box to the right of the computer is the Digitrax control system. The screen to the left of the computer is the CCTV, which allows me to see what's happening in the fiddle yard. Here we see the operator setting the route in the fiddle yard for siding 1, followed by going down to taking the cursor down to the main scenic section and setting the up and down main line.
From the bay platform, the branch line trains, often mixed passenger and goods, travelled the single line from here to Hay on Wye, picking up and dropping off milk, coal, timber and even the odd passenger. A 240 Metro tank engine departs from the bay platform on its way to Hay on Wye with a local passenger. It passes the signal box and takes the junction. A goods train approaches Bucks Hill with an 060 saddle tank locomotive and spends some time shunting, running around its train, removing the brake van and backing the wagons into the sidings. From here we can spend some time watching trains on the main line, starting with the Edwardian era and a steam rail motor and its trailer, stopping while a 3232 class 240 passes by with a passenger train. A double-headed express headed for Abergavenny has an Armstrong 440 number 16 Brunel piloted by a Dean Signal 422 Duke of Connaught, both in monogram livery. Carriages are Lee Marsh clerestory bogey stock in the Edwardian cream and brown livery. To Glen Compound number 103 La France, in its lined black livery, passes on the up main. South Eastern and Chatham Railway, Wainwright, passenger 440, in fully lined livery. Stirling 8-foot single wheeler number 1 with 6-wheeled Great Northern Railway teak carriages. A London and North Western 080 Super D goods engine passes in the evening light with cattle van empties. A straight frame Dean Bulldog 440 number 3405 Empire of India heads for Abergavenny with wagons. It has a new taper boiler and a working inside motion, and it's a Tony Reynolds build. A Dean Goods and a B-set approaches the platforms while a Hughes Crab Mogul restarts its up train for Hereford. This is the 1920 period now, and you can quite clearly see the underpass for the signal box beneath. Ten-wheeled breakdown crane paused for a moment. Branch line passenger train in the bay platform with four-wheelers, while Castle passes with a passenger train. And a Super D heads east with cattle wagons. Llantrisant number 4208, a 280 tank, passes with a milk train. These were nearly always seen on South Wales coal traffic, sometimes known as water carts. The goods train heads northwest with the second of 9 47XX class 280s Night Owls. Number 4701 began work in January 1922, and the model was built by John Hayes from a Martin Finney kit. Number 2843 on the up main with loaded coal wagons for the Midlands. The loco was built in 1912, and this model was done by John Hayes. Churchwood Mogul number 4318 passes with a breakdown train. These were introduced in 1911 with number 4 boilers. An open cab pannier waits in the bay platform behind with an auto trailer. Number 5015 Kingswear Castle passes US Herald in shirt button lined livery, the top light and dreadnought carriages. An LMS Stania Pacific with Crimson Lake carriages and an up main line train. This model was by Masterpiece and weathered by Martin Welch. An LMS-lined Black Patriot 460 Giggleswick with another lake-liveried passenger train briefly held at the platform start. Gressley A4 Pacific Golden Eagle in its LNER garter blue livery, but without the original valances, passes by with Gressley teak carriages. Into the British Railways era now, and a Britannia Pacific number 70047 with a passenger service. The model's by Masterpiece with a Fred Lewis weathering job. A lined black Prairie tank engine rejoins the down main line from the goods loop with a train of flat wagons. The same engine returns later with a van train. The British Railways 4MT standard tank number 80125 rests in the yard sidings while the Prairie tank passes by. The later British Railways era with a 9F class 210 passing with vans. An Ivat Mogul number 43059 with bolster wagons was one of 152 built in the early BR period. The model is from an MOK kit. Its worthy successor, number 76052, is a BR Standard Class 4 mogul, seen here with a milk train. This is the 1960s period. Rebuilt bullied Merchant Navy Pacific number 35028 Clan Line passes US Harold with a brake van. 1960s era again, with a British Railways era Hall 460 on down coal empties train. A 56 class 062 tank running bunker first with vans and flats. A pannier engine is in the goods yard behind. The 1970s era, briefly with a Western diesel hydraulic D1011 Western Thunderer.
I really hope you've enjoyed your visit to Bucks Hill, but it would be remiss of me not to mention those that have been really important to this project. Starting with Carl Legg, who was inspirational in concept as well as pushing me to make sure I finished it. Gordon and Maggie Gravitt, who not only made buildings but also instrumental in colour and texture. Barry Norman, who spent a long time working out the right colour base for the grass and textures. Chris Gates, who spent hours doing dry grass and brambles and bushes. Paul Bambrick for the back scene. I never thought we could fit one, but he did. Mike Morris for a lot of point work and the building we're now sitting in. Now don't forget to visit our website, Bucks Hill Model Railway in 7 Mill. The link is below. Visit and see the engines that come here from time to time, visiting stock. Thank you very much for watching.